3 anggota jaringan narkoba bungkus kecil.
Cipinang is the #1 maximum security prison in Indonesia.
Rumah tahanan Cipinang.
Actually, quite a scary cast of convicts they had there.
Cipinang, Jakarta.
It also housed a lot of hardcore, high-profile criminals.
The who's who of the corrupted goes to Cipinang, right?
Drug dealers, murderers, terrorists, they're all in there.
Located in the heart of Indonesia's capital, Jakarta, the Cipinang Penitentiary institution has a daunting reputation. From the impressiveness of the roster of convicts to the reports of lawlessness from within, it is not the first place you would think of for a hip-hop festival venue. How did this notorious location host an international hip-hop festival? And how did the president of the Malaysian hip-hop scene come to perform there?
Okay, first you have to understand like my relationship with Stan.
This is the main man that made all this happen. This is my man Stan right here.
I'm Stan. I'm a DJ from Jakarta. I have my own DJ label called Trigger Management. I've been running for the past 13 years. Me and Joe, we go way back. Oh, I don't know, man. Maybe about like 15, 16 years now with Joe.
You know, when I was in Too Fat. And coming to Indonesia, Stan was one of my first friends.
Joe Flizzow in the house.
He's a brother to a lot of people. He's just one of those guys that would be next to you. Next thing you know, Stan is right there up front with you.
Well, I've done a lot of things in the past that I'm not proud of. But yeah, I ended up in Cipinang for about 2.5 years. First time I entered Cipinang, you know, you have that feeling like, okay, my life is done. There's no future for you anymore. After a while, you're in there, you just get used to it. You get to know the people, you get to know the system. And I was lucky enough, I had an aunt that worked in there. They wanted to do an event for the youth pledge. They call it Sumpah Pemuda in Indonesia. So my aunt reached out to me and said like, look, I know you do a lot of events on the outside and I want you to do something for us. So I know a lot of people help me out with doing all the events and stuff, and one of them is called Pipit, Sylvia.
Yeah, I was part of the concert, guilty as charged. I thought Stan had lost his mind. So, you know, I played along with it, not knowing that, you know, it's actually going to happen.
Initially, I think they asked him to do something else. And he was like, nah, I don't know how to do a dangdut concert.
If you want me to do it, I'll do it my way. I want to do a hip-hop festival.
Hip-hop festival with like 30 plus acts. Everybody's gonna be there.
The warden basically didn't know. Well, he had no clue what hip-hop was. Basically, I had to do a presentation on what hip-hop music is. Basically, everything about hip-hop. And then we had to make another proposal to the Minister of Defense. So they gave us a green light, and that's how it started.
In other places, you know, you just run events, right? But here, every step that you take, you understand that there is a risk. If that risk comes into the table, then you need to know what you're gonna do about it. So that was really heavy.
If we wanted to do an international hip-hop event, we need someone international. That's why I thought of Joe.
Or was it like a tax? No, or was it? I think it might have been a BBM. Yo, was good, man.
So yeah, I contacted him and asked him if he wanted to join us.
Say no more, man. I'm there.
Yo, C.
And the crazy thing is, like, I was going through a period in time when I was about to establish myself as a solo artist. Like Too Fat had just done our last album, or you know, it was a time of uncertainty, and it was just like homecoming. Indonesia in the weirdest place. This time around it's Joe Flizzow, and it's not a concert. It's a show in the prison.
10 years ago, I was in a group called Stylistic. I was part of Cartel Hitman, and being part of the team, that was when I moved as a solo DJ, right? At the same time, Joe was recording his President album. Also produced a couple of tracks for the album. That's how I pretty much continued on with Joe as his DJ, and then we received a call from Stan.
I remember very clearly that my phone rang. There's a big dog calling me right now, and you know, it spelled out Joe Flizz. At that point in time, I was very heavily involved with club emceeing. I used to be like the #1 choice of hype man. I was also fairly known for doing kind of shitty stuff, being from, you know, You know, I'm an Indian macha. I cannot drink and keep quiet. You know what I mean? So I was thinking at that point in time when I got the phone call, I was like, oh shit, what the fuck did I do wrong? Then I was like, okay, wait, let's go. So I said, yo, what's up? Then I said, hey, you wanna do a show? Show ni, memang like macam, bro. Then I was like, okay, what do you mean? Then he was like, bro, you ready to perform in a prison? Then I was like, balls lah, bro.
Not every day you get the opportunity to go to a jail and film a hip-hop festival.
What's up, man? We're in the ride right now on the way to Cipinang State Penitentiary. Yo, sis.
Yo.
Tell 'em what's up, dog.
What's up?
What's up?
The day of event,
Security was tight, and there's like a few doors that you have to go through before you actually enter the lawn.
There's one Metallica song where they go into prison saying anger. I was thinking something like that, guards on standby with snipers and stuff like that.
Me and Joe walked up to this door, and there was like a metal door.
big ass door, which looked like a set from Lord of the Rings, but it was damn ganas. It was very gritty. It's like, yo, Ashish, you about to walk into an active prison. The only fear I had was being stabbed by one of the inmates. So I was always on my macha instinct, like, So like, anybody come near, yo, you coming too near this place, that's the boundary, you coming too close, I'm gonna sock your face out.
So got into that door.
Metal detectors, x-ray machines, all that.
And then things got really real because they frisked us. They feel up on your butt, up your groin. It's still that fear, the pressure, like, oh shit, you don't know who's gonna come again near you and like, do some crazy stuff to you. Stand by, macha. That's all I thought, like, you know what I mean? Just be prepared for the worst. Praying for the best, but prepared for the worst.
When I came out to the yard and I saw the setup, I was like, wow, there's definitely going to be something crazy going to happen here, something historic.
Just being there was a bit overwhelming at first, but when we got inside, it was pretty relaxed. They made me feel welcome. All I can say is, this is Asia. Welcome to Asia.
Suddenly it felt like a circus, it just felt like a normal music festival. And we had like the graffiti artists doing their artwork going on, and then we had a couple of like these skater boys with their bicycles doing their stunts.
So the inmates, they were like coming over to us, wanted to say hi, and I've never seen like an outsider before. We were like all hip hop. I had this chain with me. Like I hope they won't snatch it or anything like that.
There was a shitload of rappers from Jakarta. And they were like, we were all backstage, they were all ciphering, there were people doing beatboxing.
Cipinang holds about 4,000 inmates, while it's actually originally built to only hold 1,500 inmates. So there were overflow of inmates, aka audience here. When the gate to the concert area were open, these floods of inmates, they were running to you, running to the stage, and my heart races like I was going to have a stroke. I was definitely scared to death.
It was kind of like cool and to see like a sea of convicts. They're hungry for entertainment.
All of us on the stage, 12 stage crews, we were shocked and froze in fear for the first couple of minutes.
The view was beautiful. You can have a bunch of kids, you can have a bunch of convicts. It's showtime, so a crowd is a crowd. You're still gonna have your fun. Came up there, bam, bam, thank you, man.
Hey yo, what up, party people in the place to be?
For me, it was like, I knew I was performing for people that were incarcerated, people that have very limited or no form of entertainment. So, whenever we threw a cap, like we could see like they were fighting for the cap. But I mean, nothing violent, but it's different than, throwing a cap to somebody who can walk to a store and buy it, right?
I literally walked freely in the crowd where I was filming. I was the only cameraman. It was interesting that nobody touched me, nobody grabbed my camera.
The crowd was quite crazy. Joe performed a lot of his big songs, and they were actually singing along because they understand the language. They were quite energetic, I would say. And they really, I think so, they had a ball of a time.
MC Size performed one of his tracks too at the time. It was really big. Dancing, we kind of have like a groove to it, and everybody could relate to the music. And Stan did like a speech and saying thank you to the inmates.
The entire thing was weird but interesting, and it happened. We didn't die, so yeah, it's good.
It was a beautiful day that day. You should have been there.
Went down the stage and we were on the way there, and then this guy, one of the inmates, just came to me. He was like, grabbed my chain. It was like, he asked me if he could have it. I just told him that my mother gave it to me. Like, he understood it. It was like, oh, okay. So sorry about that. It was a peaceful event in the end.
And then there was also parts where this fence separating the convicts from us, where like this guy started pulling up this fence and he was like trying to reach out at the stock of T-shirts kept right there, and I was like, hey, yo, somebody check this guy out. And then like the security guys came and like, hey, jangan bikin macam itu, ya, this.
Nothing went wrong. That's the thing. It seems like everyone was behaving. For that one day, basically we opened the door for everyone, for the public. They could come in there and enjoy the party.
I have to say, all the concerns were there from the prison's end. They prepared this very well. Behind my knowledge, they did their briefings very well in terms of releasing all the inmates from the cells. Perfectly timed with the rundown of the show.
It's a bit funny, you know, because like basically there's this one guy on the inside. He knows the higher places, you know, but he was also one of the inmates, basically well respected on the inside.
This is where the Asian element, I think, comes to play. Like, apparently, all the prisoners were briefed by the big boss. And when I say the big boss, I don't think it's the warden, you know?
Basically, he's just said, like, don't fuck it up, or else I'm gonna fuck you up.
It was all love. Like, I didn't feel threatened at any point. I didn't feel like anyone would harm me. I just felt like we were at a concert lah. Macam tak ada rasa takut, tak ada rasa gimana ya, cik mau ngobrol bahasa Indonesia.
Overall, the entire Cipinang experience was definitely an eye-opener. I think the first thing is don't judge people. Someone could be a prisoner, but he could still appreciate music, you know. Music is so powerful. It could pacify a situation in the prison, like everyone was chill.
The best thing was to actually sit down with some of the inmates and talk to them about their experiences in prison. It's an eye-opener, man. There's some people in there for their lifetime, but yet they kept themselves in high spirit. You know, they were smiling, laughing. They tell us like, oh, I love G-Funk, I love Dr. Dre and all that stuff.
I remember meeting one person who had been in there longer than I had been rapping. I started rapping in 98 or 99. He's been in there before that. But he immediately knew who I was. How? And he was like, yeah, because I got TV in my... And like, then he showed me a digital camera. Again, there are levels to this, you know? So he's like, I saw you on MTV. I got MTV in my cell. You know, being somebody who was already there at that point in time, maybe like 20 years, he was, you know, very remorseful, and he was actually giving me like life advice, man. Don't get caught up with certain things that might put you in a position, you know, where you can't look out for your family. He really put things into perspective for me.
The prisoners in the beginning, like I said, they don't really know what hip-hop was. For the first 2 hours, the inmates were a bit still kind of confused what it was. But we invited a few rap group who are famous in Indonesia.
Asal kata dari borjuis, ngetrend istilahnya saat pimpinan Raja Louis. Zaman dahulu kala di negara Perancis.
There's a group, they call themselves Neo. They have this song, Borju. So the whole Indonesia knows the song. So when they came up and then they realized, oh, okay, this is hip-hop.
Here's the thing, right? Dangdut and hip-hop, it shared the same baseline, kind of. Reggaeton kind of beat. You can share kind of the same vibe, but there was no resistance or whatnot, you know? Bass pumping in. They were just smoothly going into it. They started bobbing.
Definitely we created some hip-hop fans, because to see how hip-hop is performed for non-hip-hop fans and they still get it shows that, you know, music is universal. Like lyrics, you know, if you have rhymes that people get, or sometimes it's just the beats, is enough to get people hyped and people moving. You're performing for thousands of people that don't necessarily know hip-hop. So you wanna put on a good show.
The last memory, the last visual I had while I was walking out was prisoners saying bye, bye, and they were wearing the Cartello t-shirt. We were leaving this place with an impact.
Looking at all those inmates in prison, it sort of like humbles you down. Like, you out here living the life. You know, you see them, locked up in these four walls and, like keeping the spirits high. And shout out to the inmates, man, they're the true stars, actually. A big shout out to Stan for pulling that off. They're very grateful, for giving us the opportunity to perform in Cipinang. I don't think there'll be any opportunities like that ever again in the future.
The next day when they saw me, like they just came up to me and said thank you for the thing that we've done for them. Like I said, it's a prison. Like we don't have much entertainment there. There's not much entertainment for us. There's a lot of people who are in there like they're stressed out, but they don't know what to do with their life. I show people on the outside like, look, even though we're on the inside, we can still do positive things. And with me, it's through music.
Who would have thought like hip-hop would have brought a bunch of convicts to celebrate inside a prison?
Hip hop don't give no head smash, no head banging, no burning tires. Yeah, hip hop just gets the inmates moving and grooving that day. It's priceless, yeah.
It was also, for me, a show of solidarity for Stan because of the type of person Stan is. So when this happened to Stan, everybody sort of like wanted to show Stan like, yo, you could be inside, but we got you. Like, you not need us to perform, we got you, man. For us, it's more like, yo, we're spending time with Stan. Like, I can't believe we're partying with you in prison, bro.
Not many people get a chance like that, like after you come out of prison and people can still accept you for who you are and respect you for who you are. So I was lucky to have that. And then the gigs started coming in again. I'm actually doing better than even before. In 2014, they voted me as the best hip-hop DJ of the year. In 2016, they voted for me for the best DJ of the year. And all that came after the prison. So I'm happy with that.
Would there be a Jakarta International Hip Hop Festival from you soon?
In Cipinang? No, not yet, Not yet. Maybe soon. We'll see how it goes.
Fast forward 10 years later, I think we're still doing what we love. We're still pursuing our dreams, but also we have more responsibilities. Like, I don't know, like I just did Namblas Bares, where we kind of like unified the scene through a platform. This was one of those few times, in my life that, we come together for a good cause. And it's looking at like hip hop coming together. It's always good seeing like a scene united, As a performer, I don't know, man, after you perform in jail, everything else after that is like a walk in the park, man. But for me, it's also about like being there for the homies, like regardless, whatever situations, get on a flight, go perform in jail for for the fam, bro. It's all good, man. Yeah. As an artist, like you don't discriminate when you entertain. Put faith in humanity and you just hope that your music can somehow heal, make somebody a better person.
Y'all ready for this? The Ketua Police of their negara, he was there to award all those who took part in this beautiful campaign, in this beautiful hip-hop festival. Look at that, look at that. Terima kasih atas partisipasinya dalam acara Cipinang International Hip Hop Festival. So this has actually impacted my life a lot. Like performing in a prison, bonkers, bro, bonkers.
JKT, much respect to Cipinang. Stan, KL Cities, my man here. Joe Flizzow in the house.